The Spirit in the Body by Robert Crosbie. Letter 24. The despondency of the age is a general tendency, partly personal and partly belonging to the age. It comes in cycles, as you will have observed. When it comes, the cycle has reached its lowest point. Knowing this, we begin to lift up that cycle by rising quickly from it, and so help to reduce its influence, not only for ourselves but for the age. When we are at the low point, we should try to remember our fellows who are unconsciously suffering from that of which we not only know the cause, but the remedy. The student oftentimes, by reason of the changes going on within, feels himself less fitted to cope with existing conditions, but he must work. It is his only salvation. What is needed is an utter and entire consecration of the worker to the cause. Never were trill words said, and all that follows is in direct line. Keep that spirit, and all will be well. You have asked for a synopsis of what was said at the last meeting, but I find this most difficult, as I do not remember the words I used. The pamphlet was used as a basis for talk, the subject, the unknown God. One questioner asked, how could there be a philosophy of the infinite? Reply was, there could not be a philosophy of the infinite, but there could be a philosophy of all existence. Whether there be existence or none, the infinite is, and must be outside of all speculation. The philosophy is in regard to the origin, nature, history, development and destiny of man, and his worlds, for worlds and men develop together. I then gave the idea of space as representing the infinite, of consciousness, perselenium, the power to perceive, without anything to perceive. The desire to know itself could only be fulfilled by seeing itself reflected. The possibilities of all grades of density of matter being in the primordial matter, and the power of creation, preservation and destruction residing in consciousness. The first differentiation took place in accordance with the desire. Functioning in that denser state, and thereby obtaining form, a further differentiation was produced, more dense, and so on, down to the present state. Pointed out that it was the desire to live that kept us alive, the desire for sentient life that brought us back into incarnation. As we rise to higher planes of being, desire becomes less individual and more general, for the welfare of humanity and all creatures. From this we may be able to get some perception that desire, from being general in the beginning of manifestation, became more and more individual as denser matter was evolved, until with us it reached the point of separated personal desire. The way back must lie through continual approach to that unity from which all have come. The philosophy exists in order that man may become a god, as he was and in reality is. Your last pamphlet is to my mind a great one, it points out so many things so clearly. For instance, when it speaks of analysis as being the thought form of the age, it indicates to me that our general consciousness is one of analysis, classifications, no synthesis anywhere. In pointing this out to others, there is much opportunity to show how narrow a range of thinking our much lauded civilization has. Then how clearly stands out the statement, there can be but one philosophy, which is a synthesis of the whole, and which by its consistency and logic proves itself. On the other hand, what have we? Warring dogmatic religions, science which clings to a materialistic basis, and a psychology which is worse off than either, because it attempts to deal with metaphysics from a material basis of consciousness, and at last, so-called new thought which devotes its energies to one physical life. What a contrast! How can men fail to realize that they are ignorant indeed, and that none of these things bring knowledge? Then they would arouse themselves to seek for light. The student of Theosophy knows that the reason they are so blind to patent facts is that they are surrounded by the clouds of past lives and cannot pierce through them, that all that can be done is to let the light so shine that all who will may see it, thus sowing seed for future harvests. It would be a hopeless task were it not for reincarnation. I am glad that you are able to perceive and hold the right attitude in regard to events. In both of your letters there is evidence, perhaps indefinable, yet plainly perceptible, of an inner action. Moreover, there is more of unanimity, accord, however the outer at times may seem to deny it. While we work, we grow most when our thought is so occupied with the work that we have no thought for ourselves, nor for events, in their color and their relation to us. Knowing that there must be light and shade, heat and cold, pain and pleasure in life, we can take them as we take any climate in which we live, and just accept what comes, as the metaphysical climate of the time, place and condition in which we are, and go on with the appointed work. What we have learned gives us a larger view of karma than the mere personal. We begin to perceive that beyond the personal there comes to the worker in the field of theosophy, the student-disciple, those other phases of karma which arise from family and race. By the very nature of the effort made, and the position from which it is made, those other phases must be felt more and more as the student progresses. It may seem to him that it is all personal, and it is, in the sense that he is a focus for it, but, if we have assimilated what the steps must be that lead to adeptship, we must know that the battle we are fighting is not our own, but that of the world, and that the sins of the world will in increasing measure be laid on us until we have finally conquered. If, on the contrary, we take these things as personal only, we may conquer them as such, but of us then it would be said, inasmuch as ye did it not unto the least of these, ye did it not unto me. Your Sunday meeting was certainly a small one, and apparently of little use, but who can tell? We know that it is the effort that counts, and having made it, karma does the rest. There are many of these poor unfortunates who are caught in the mazes of the psychic realm. As long as they look there for their guru, he will not be found. Good thoughts and ideas may go quite easily with self-delusion. Indeed, if they did not, there would be less delusion. All these things are good practice for you. Each crank presents a new phase of delusion, and has to be studied at the time and handled as well as may be, as well as studied further subsequently. It is fortunate also that they come to you in such small detachments, and not in crowds or with crowds. The greater the obstacle, the greater the effort, so we will see to it that the good work goes on, with charity toward all and with malice toward none, and with all our power as the cycle permits. Well, sleep sweet, and may you bring from the other side of life all necessary power and help.